right now as we speak. But of course, Maruti Suzuki's June sales numbers came in below Nomura estimates. Senior Executive Officer Marketing and Sales Shashank Srivastava joins us to discuss that with us. Shashank, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. You know, you had earlier indicated some weakness in consumer sentiment at the entry and affordable levels. We see that on the decline in compact segment this time. What's the outlook going forward?
Well, I think you made the right observation. The share of hatchbacks, small cars, have been coming down over the years. At one point of time, just about 3.5 years back, they were about 45% of the industry. And this quarter, they are around 33% of the industry. Marginally less than last year's, whole of last year, which was about 34%. Now, we did see a good growth in this segment last year. Last year, it grew from about 11,60,000 annually to about 13,40,000. That's a 20% plus growth. However, when you compare it with the peak that this segment had reached, which was in 2017-18, it was around 15,60,000. So yes, the segment has been coming down, largely because, as we discussed earlier, it is the affordability factor, the income levels in this segment not rising as high as the prices. For various reasons, prices have been going up, including commodity price increase and regulatory stringency. And we would expect this to be a flat numbers this year overall. That is around that same 13.25, 13.4 lakh is the annual volume in this segment. And yes, regarding the June numbers, there is a decline that we have to see with respect to the fact that the Alto 800, which notched up about 13,000 numbers last year, was not there this year. It has been discontinued. And the numbers have been made up with Alto K10 to some extent. And that is one of the reasons why you see the larger decline in June.
All right, that explains the larger decline in June. However, you're confident of ending the year flat in that segment itself, Alto K10 making up for all the losses that you saw because of Alto 800 in the base itself. Shashank, you did briefly speak about softening commodity prices. Just wanted to understand, is margin expansion on the cards during the quarter? There has been some amount of volatility in the prices of the commodities, but generally speaking, they have been softening in the last couple of quarters. Steel prices have been fluctuating. A mixed bag, I would say, but clearly the commodity prices remain at a very elevated levels compared with the last what they were 2 years back, and that was one of the main reasons why the OEMs had to increase prices. But I think we are very watchful about the commodity prices going forward. And I think if they remain softened, then you could expect the profitability to be better, because 75% or 75 to 77% of the cost structure of any auto OEM is actually dependent on material costs, which is clearly hugely dependent on the commodity prices.
Okay, so Mr. Srivastava, how do you see the UV segment going forward? At what levels do you think this particular segment will stabilize and then sustain as well?
I think with the improved production of the Ertiga and the XL6, which we expect starting from this quarter, that is July onwards, I would expect the numbers to be around that 50,000 mark from the current levels. We, of course, have these 4 SUVs, which is the Brezza with the improved supply around 15,000 numbers, and also the Vitara, which is doing around 10,000 numbers. Fronx, which is we have some limitation of supplies, about 8,000 to 10,000, and Jimny, which did about 3,500 last 3,500 plus last month, plus Ertiga, which does about 13,000, and an XL6, which does about 4,000 or so. So I would expect with increased production, with the semiconductor situation getting better for these models, I would expect to be in that range of around 50,000.
All right, around 50,000 from closer to 43,000 in this month itself. And could you throw some light on the way forward for both the exports and the CV segment? I mean, relatively smaller parts of your business, but what's the way forward for that?
So export numbers, as you see, for June declined about 17%, but that has to be also looked with the perspective that there were some shipments that we missed some ships which got delayed because of the hurricane Biparjoy, and that actually delayed the arrival of some of the ships. As you know, we export vehicles from the Gujarat ports. So Gujarat ports were badly affected by the Biparjoy hurricane, and that's the reason why you see some of the shipments couldn't happen by the end of the month, and hence the decline that you see. Overall, although we still maintain that we will show growth in exports over last year's number. Last year's number were 2,59,000, and we expect a growth over these numbers in this financial year.
You know, analysts are estimating 19 to 20% volume growth this year. So are you on track for that number?
I don't think we have made any projections of 19 to 20% for this year. So I'm not sure what analysis has led to that sort of projections by the researchers. However, for this quarter, of course, Maruti Suzuki has grown at around 12.5% in passenger vehicles, which is, I think, a good growth. All we have said so far is that our projections for the industry in this financial year is that it would grow around 5 to 7% to reach about 41 lakh or so from the levels of about 38.5 lakhs last year. So, and that Maruti Suzuki will grow faster than that industry growth. So we are still very much in line with that.
All right, you are in line with that. I mean, this morning itself, we got a note from Motilal Oswal expecting 19 to 20% volume growth this year. So that's the basis of the analysis that came in and the genesis of the question. But your market share in the SUV segment, I mean, you had a target of 25% share by the end of FY24. You had guided for that. Where does it stand at right now?
So we are now at, June was about 21% plus. Overall for the quarter, it is just above 20%. Last year, it was 12.5%. So we seem to be in the right direction because it has been progressively increasing from March, which was about 17%, 19% in April, 20% in May, 21% in June. So I think we are getting there. Of course, it's a very competitive segment, but we still maintain that we should be number one in the SUV segment also this year. And that's our big target and objective for this year. And happy to say that for the quarter, we reached the number 2 position, just behind Mahindra by a small margin. In fact, June numbers were almost similar with both of us at a 21% market share.
Okay, so tell us about the launches that you have planned for the remainder of the year, something that the customers can look forward to.
So we are going to have a launch on the 5th of July. That is day after tomorrow for our premium MPV, the Invicto. We've already started the bookings for that vehicle. And yes, we have always been very strong in terms of launches, and this year is going to be no different. We've already launched the Fronx and the Jimny and the Invicto day after tomorrow. So yes, we have a strong plan for products going forward. And hopefully we should do our volumes that we started targeting at the beginning of the year.
All right, and the coveted EV launched from Maruti stable. How far are you from that?
We have announced that we will be launching our first electric vehicle, the EVX, which we showcased in the Auto Expo in January. And the preparations are on. So we are actually well in advance of the plan, actually. And we should be launching it sometime in the next financial year.
Okay, Mr. Srivastava, thank you so much for joining us today and discussing the monthly sales for the month of June. We'll be speaking to you soon again. But for today, we'll take your leave right now. So that's Maruti up. The stock is down around 1% in trade. With that, we'll slip into a short break. Up next, we'll be joined by Robin Rena, chairman at Ebix Cash, to discuss their upcoming IPO plans and the impact of tax collected with source on foreign payments and the new FAQs that had come in for authorized dealers as well. Stay tuned for that.